My name is Peristu Imami, and I'm the host of The Road to Success for Your Highly Sensitive Child. This podcast is about empowering parents of highly sensitive children to nurture their child's unique personality trait and create a path to success. Our podcast provides guidance, insights, and support to help you unlock your child's full potential, fostering resilience, confidence, and a bright future. If you're new to my podcast, please go back and listen to episodes 1 and 2 because they provide information on high sensitivity that all subsequent episodes will build upon. If you skip these episodes, you won't get as much out of this and all subsequent episodes. To book a private coaching session with me, please visit my website at parentinghsc.com. Before I dive into today's episode, here's a friendly nudge. If you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, what are you waiting for? Join our podcast family. And if you enjoy our podcast, I would love it if you would please give us a 5-star rating. Today's episode is a continuation of my conversation with Angela about raising her highly sensitive boy. In this episode, we will talk about reflections and insights. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Can you share any strategies or techniques you use to advocate for your son's needs in educational or social settings?
So I certainly with summer camps, I always write on the phone that Daniel is slow to warm up, and but once given time, he will become an active participant in the camp. I tell them allow him to stand back outside of the group for as long as he needs, and when he is ready, he will engage.
That's awesome.
Don't rush him. And that has worked really, really well. I think most camps are probably, whether they are aware that they understand highly sensitive children, they have clearly had highly sensitive children there. So the camps that he goes to do a pretty good job of just letting him hang back until he feels ready. And if they give him that time, he'll be great. That's usually, Monday. That'll happen. Tuesday, generally speaking, he's in. He's often found one counselor that he gravitates towards, and once he's got that one counselor, he's good to go. He finds the person who understands him. That actually happens quite often, where there are either teenagers or maybe kids in their 20s who recognize Daniel. Oh, I was like him. My brother's like him. Now they'll know somebody and be like, I know what that kid needs. And there's usually somebody who gets it. So that's what I do with summer camps. When it came to school, both in fourth grade and fifth grade, I sent an article to the teacher, and it was an article. I don't remember where I got it from now. I think I showed it to you. That is for an instructor, and it teaches them what to expect and how to respond. And so my hope is that they will read that, and if they don't know about high sensitivity, I'm giving them, I'm cluing them in, not just for my son, but for other kids in the class who will be that way. So, that's how I've addressed those situations. I try to attack it from up front.
Absolutely. And that's what I teach all my clients. And I actually produce a document that they hand over to the school when they first are looking for a school. So I basically encourage them to ask whether the school is aware of high sensitivity. A lot of people say yes when they don't really understand it, because the only thing that they think about is the emotional aspect of it. Oh, yes, that person cries a lot, so they must be highly sensitive. Oh, that person gets hurt really easily, so they must be highly sensitive. That is not a definition of high sensitivity. So I give them the definition, a very short and succinct definition of high sensitivity, so that because most people don't read things, you can give them documents. If they're too long, definitely they're not going to look at it. So you want to be able to give them the information that they need in 30 seconds of reading. That's basically the attention span, especially nowadays. People are not having a very good attention span. So you want to give them the information as quickly as possible. And then, but I encourage my clients not to give this information right away. Ask the person that you're talking to at the school, do you know, please explain it. If they say yes, okay, can you please explain to me what your understanding is? Because you want to make sure that their understanding is correct. If they explain the 4 aspects of high sensitivity, you're good to go. You don't need to give them anything. As far as the general information about high sensitivity. But what you do need to give them is specifics, like you have done. Maybe you didn't in the summer camp, and you didn't do it in a formal written way, but you explained to them what your son needs, because every highly sensitive child is different. So then I tell my clients, give them specifics about your child. What should they do with your child? What should they avoid doing with your child? Just these 2 will help the school, because the schools want to be successful. No school or teacher wants their kids to fail. They all want their children, the students, to do well. And that's how they see their success, is through what their students accomplish. So it's a win-win situation. And then if the school doesn't know about high sensitivity, then they can give them the write-up that I've given them, so that they can educate themselves. And I test the school. Like, I have my clients test the school. The first week that the child, especially when it's a young child, is going to school, I encourage my client to go in and sit on the class. Sit in on the class and observe. How is the teacher interacting with your child? Or if it's multiple teachers in like preschool or kindergarten or however, daycare, whatever it is, how are they treating your child? Are they listening to what you've said or not? Because that's so important, because those are the formative years of your child. So you want to make sure that whoever is interacting with your child understands your child and takes the next step, which is giving your child what they need to feel safe. Because like you mentioned several times, Daniel needs to feel safe. And all highly sensitive children and adults need to feel safe. Even today, I when I enter some place that I'm not knowledgeable about, that I have never seen or been a part of, I need to feel safe in that environment. So it's something that doesn't go away. Mm-hmm. It's part of being highly sensitive.
I recently had to educate the principal of his school. He had been involved in an incident, and when she pulled the kids aside to talk to them, Daniel refused to talk to her. So the next thing I get is a call from the principal saying, I was talking to your son and he refused to talk to me. And she was upset. And I said, oh, well, it's not that he didn't refuse to talk to you. He couldn't talk to you. Mm-hmm. And she sort of stopped, and I said, yeah, he would have been absolutely overwhelmed right there and then. If you want to talk to him and you want to find out what's going on or his thoughts on what happened, why don't you bring him into the office, sit next to him, don't sit behind your desk, mm-hmm. and quietly talk to him, mm-hmm. on his own. If you feel safe, he'll tell you everything.
Yeah.
And sure enough, she did that, and she called me again and said, yeah, he gave up all the information. And I said, yeah. He wasn't being rude. Yeah. He just couldn't.
Yeah.
He was on the spot. I think she said that he cried, and I said, yeah, that makes sense.
That does make sense, because he was sad.
Traumatized.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah.
And so I said, if you want to get the best out of my son, don't talk to him right when the incident has happened, right when you're yelling at kids, and so she got it. And my hope is that if she got it with him, maybe that could help other kids.
Absolutely.
Each time I have to talk to an adult about how to do this, how to get him to respond to you. My hope is that I'm also teaching them for other kids.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's so important because that's how we spread the knowledge of high sensitivity. Otherwise, I swear to God, I go to my doctor, who's an amazing doctor, who has seen me for the past 25 years of my life. And I never thought to ask her whether she knows about high sensitivity because she's been my doctor for 20 something years, and so 25 years or more. So I just assumed she does know about high sensitivity because she's so amazing with me. So I asked her, do you know about high sensitivity? And she goes, no, what's that? I was like, oh my God, if this is my amazing doctor, highly educated, amazing at what she does, so amazing that I live in San Francisco and she works in Campbell, which is an hour and 15 minutes away from San Francisco, for those of you who are not from the Bay Area. I drive all the way there to see her. And I've been doing that for ever and ever and ever. I've lived in San Francisco for, I think, almost 20 years now. So I've been doing that for 20 years, going to San Jose to see, or Campbell to see her. So my point in that story is that even doctors don't know. And even, by the way, psychologists, many of them, if not most of them, don't know. You don't know, like I talk to people who have taken their children to a psychologist and they're so frustrated because the psychiatrist, they've been seeing the psychologist forever and ever and ever. Their child is not getting any better. I'm like, does your psychologist know about high sensitivity? Because this is a personality trait. Psychologists should know about it, but they don't. Many of them doesn't. And most recently I had to see a psychologist because I've experienced 8 leaks in my home, and I had to see a specialist to cope with the situation. And she knew about high sensitivity, and I taught her a lot in my sessions too. So now she knows even more than she did, but at least she knew what it is, which most people don't know, even when they're in the health industry. So as parents, I really encourage you to do what Angela is doing, which is educating whoever your child interacts with.
Yeah.
You need to educate them, whether that's their dentist or their doctor or their, if they're seeing a therapist. Believe me, you need to educate everyone. Even if you think that person is in the healthcare industry and they don't know. They think they know, ask them. If they say the 4 aspects, they know. If they don't say the 4 aspects, they don't know. So I'm glad that you're doing that. So my next question is, looking back, what do you wish you had known sooner about raising a highly sensitive child?
I wish I had understood what was going on with him sooner. I wish I had understood that it was just part of his personality. I wish I'd understood that he was actually protecting himself. And I just didn't know.
Yeah.
I think that's probably what I sort of think about the times that I didn't respond correctly, the times that I got annoyed, and the times that maybe I yelled.
Yeah.
I learned pretty quickly that when I yelled, it could be 2-3 hours before he could come out of that.
Wow.
So I started, I guess the only way for me to really understand it was to go through that.
Yeah.
But I still wished I hadn't put him through that.
Yeah.
Both my husband and I are we are really on the same page about it these days. And this is not to say that we never yell. I would say we very rarely yell.
Yeah.
But, we're human.
Yeah, absolutely.
Catch us at the wrong time, we might not respond as well as we should.
But I'm going to interject you here because I know you, and I know how you parent Daniel. What you do when you do yell, you always go back and make repair,
Exactly.
which is very important for a highly sensitive child. It's okay. We're all human. We all have various emotions. We could be angry someday because something happened at work, whatever. We could just wake up angry for no reason. It's okay. That's part of being human. We all have various emotions. But when you do yell at a highly sensitive child, it is so crucial for you to go back and make repair. And I know you do that.
We do. Yeah, always. Just when we've calmed down and we're feeling in a better place, we go back. We probably will usually apologize. Not always. Sometimes, if I felt really justified, I might explain my anger without apologizing, because sometimes I feel like how do I word that? Sometimes it's more about explaining why I got to that place.
Yeah, exactly. And that's enough, by the way.
Right. Like, if I felt like I was definitely wrong, I will apologize. If I felt like, you know what, I needed to do that, I will explain it, and then I will come back at the whatever the situation that's going on. I will come back at it at a calm, in a calm way, and just say, this is how I meant to word it.
Yeah.
Let me explain it to you in a calmer way.
Okay.
Let me, I don't change my response. I just word it in a more peaceful way. Every single time we do that, once we go back to him and take the heat out of the situation, he is fine. He does not need time to recover once I've apologized or once I've said, hey, I was really mad because I'm disappointed that this happened. Let me explain better. So it's not always about saying that you are wrong, but it is about letting them know that they are still loved and
safe.
Yeah, and so I also think to apologize is good, because that's what you would want them to do if they yelled at somebody, is to go back and apologize. So as much as possible, I will always. My hope is that I'm teaching him, this is what you do when you don't get it right.
Absolutely, it's a great role model.
In those situations where I feel like, no, I needed to do that, I will go back at it in a calmer way, basically so that he can hear me.
Yeah.
Because when I yelled, he didn't hear me.
No.
He just heard.
They go into the.
He heard, I am wrong. I am not loved. I am wrong. I am bad. That's what he heard.
And I'm not
He
safe.
did not hear anything that I said. So I have to go back and explain to him that just explain to him so that he can hear what's being said.
Absolutely.
So for me, using a firm voice without changing the octave at all works just fine. And I think a highly sensitive child doesn't need it to be any louder.
No.
They hear it, they feel bad. Just even having somebody talk firmly to them, or to tell them that they didn't make a good decision, or they didn't behave in a way that's expected of them, they feel bad.
They do.
So you don't have to escalate.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, highly sensitive people or children already know what they've done wrong. They already know they made a mistake, and they're going to be so hard on themselves, and so that the parents don't really need to do that, because they get it. But what you've done is set a really good example of how you behave in these types of situations, because you need to be the role model for them to follow. Right? So if you teach them, okay, when you make a mistake, you make a repair. Or if the other person is in the wrong, but you need to explain why you reacted the way you did, this is how you do it. So this is really good life lessons that you're teaching your child. So I'm really impressed by your parenting style. It's just so amazing how even if you didn't do something the way you would have liked, you take the time to go back and revisit that situation, whether it's to make repair or whether to explain or whether to do it calmer, whatever method that you're using. These are all great examples for your son to go, okay, in the future, when I get into this situation, this is working for me, so it must work for other people, because that's how humans think, right? Oh, okay, if it works for me, it will work for other people. Even though everybody's different, they might react differently, but it's a very good lesson for them to learn from you. So wonderful job there. And then, what are some misconceptions about high sensitivity that you would like to address?
Probably the number one thing that I struggle with is that I think, and maybe this is more about me than him actually, is that I think sometimes people think he's rude because he might answer, he might not answer, or he might answer gruffly. He might look very serious, and maybe a little angry when he's answering, and people think of him as being rude. He's not. He's just overwhelmed.
Yeah.
He's stressed. He's anxious, and so he's not relaxed at all. And so his words come out a little clipped. They might come out. He might put his head down. He might mumble things that make him look as if he's not a happy child.
Yeah.
That's not true. He just and if they continue to talk to him and spend half an hour with him, they would discover that he's a delightful kid.
Yeah.
It's just that for him, any situation that he doesn't fully understand, his immediate thought is to contract, partially shut down.
And I think in those situations, if I may interject, is in those situations, I highly recommend that person, when they see the reaction of the child, just give them space. I do that all the time. There might be, a highly sensitive child that would come into my house. And the first time that they see me, they may not want to interact with me right away. So they cling onto their parents, depending on their age. In this situation, it's, a little boy at the age of 3. So he's clinging to his dad's legs and he's kind of like trying to crawl up his dad's legs. That's looking for safety. And that's your cue as an adult to notice that child is in the dysregulated state. So when a child is in a dysregulated state, you don't want to continue engaging with them. You want to back away and you want to give them as much space as you can given your environment. So in my house, I was able to move away from the door altogether. I went into my kitchen, which is way away from, it's like on the other side of the condo. So the little boy was able to explore my home, which was new to him, inch by inch. And when he was ready to engage, he came and engaged with me. The whole time, I looked away from him. I didn't engage with him. I didn't look at him. I let him take in the space, including me. And when he was ready, he ran over to me and started hugging me. So it's just like you said earlier, that you go with Daniel's time. And this is the same thing. When, as an adult, you see a child and you notice that they're not behaving in the way that you expect them to behave, take a moment and say, what can I do? I'm the adult here.
Mm-hmm.
They're the child. What can I do to help that child feel safe and comfortable? And I think the onus is really not up to the child. It's more up to the adults.
When Daniel was younger, we would encourage people to just get down on the floor and play with him. You don't have to talk to him, just play with him.
Yeah.
And if you did that, you were in.
Yes.
He understood that you were safe.
Yeah.
But that adult is safe.
Yeah.
I can engage with them.
Yeah, and you're at their level.
Yeah,
which is
you're at
amazing.
their level physically.
Yeah.
And you're doing something that they can talk about.
Yeah.
You know, when Samuel was super into trains or Legos, to sit down and do Legos with him was probably his favorite thing for anybody to do. He'll talk to anybody if they sat down and did Legos with him. And just you don't have to talk straight away. Just have them engage in an activity, and then they will talk to you.
Yeah, and in an activity that they enjoy. And that's the thing that I love about talking to you today is everything is about Daniel. What is good timing for him? What makes him happy? What what activities is he interested in? So a lot of times we as adults, not in a malicious way at all, but as adults, we tend to project whatever we didn't get as a child onto our children. So if, for example, one of my clients, she didn't get a chance to play the piano as a child, and she really wanted to play the piano, but her parents couldn't afford the piano, so she got a harmonica instead. And she didn't really enjoy playing that thing, but she did it because it was the next best thing to, playing an instrument. So now that she has a highly sensitive child, she's forcing her child to play the piano that she doesn't really enjoy. And I had to talk to her about it, and she was not very happy with me bringing that to her attention, because she didn't realize that she was projecting her wants and needs as her younger self onto her child. So I encouraged her, and the child was not doing well in piano. So I encouraged her, do you know what she likes doing? And she said, yeah, she likes to play sports. She doesn't like to play instruments. I said, wonderful. Engage her enroll her in the, sport that she loves to do and watch her excel at it. And she's now super happy child, thriving in this sport that she loves. And she's not forced to do something that she doesn't love, And it's not that her mom was a bad mom or that she was malicious. She just didn't realize what she was doing. We often don't know as adults that we're projecting. And so it's not to say that that person was a bad mom. It's just that she didn't realize.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, and she herself is a psychologist, and she's a child psychologist. So my point in that is that even somebody who does this for a living you're human, right? We can still make those mistakes that other non-psychologists can make. So
we went through that with Daniel when he was younger. I remember he was quite young, maybe 4-ish perhaps, and I decided to set him up with soccer. Right, all boys play soccer. My brother played soccer. My husband played soccer. They play soccer. And so it was a Saturday. I was working, and so my husband takes him to this camp, and he came home. He was like, "Oh no, it was a terrible time. We're not doing that again." I said, "What happened?" He said that Daniel just would not go to the class. Like he hung out on the bleachers. He crawled underneath the bleachers. He picked paper up underneath the bleachers. He walked around, looked at the walls, would not go anywhere near the kids playing soccer, who were having a great time.
Yeah.
And the soccer coach came over and tried to get him to engage. Nope, 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 nope. So we realized. I mean, actually, what happened. In some ways, I regret not perhaps sort of just taking him every week and letting him play on the bleachers, but taking him every week and just seeing whether he would warm up to it. We did not do that. We actually stopped the class. Now these days, I totally recognize what was going on. I do not have a kid who does team sports. He does not like anything in a team. And that makes sense to me. It's anxiety inducing. He is required to process very, very quickly. Like he doesn't like anything where a ball is coming at him. Because he can't, because he doesn't think quick enough as to know what to do. He needs to be in a sport that is that one, he is only competing against himself. Two, that it is not any no surprises. So for instance, he does paddleboarding, he does swimming, and he likes to ski. These are all individual sports. They're all things that, sure, you can fall on a set of skis. That would be a surprise. And if that happens to him, he does struggle. It takes him a good few minutes he kind of goes into a shock. But he likes to ski enough that he'll get back up and he'll keep going.
Exactly.
But these are all sports that you know what's going on for most of the time. Like there are no surprises. There are things that, generally speaking, are quite peaceful. There's nothing loud. There's nobody cheering. And I think all of these sports are quite therapeutic. For him, the paddleboarding is a beautiful thing for him. He's out on the water. It's calm. He's paddling. He's sort of out in nature. So I think one of the things you need to understand with a sensitive child is that they're not always going to follow the road that other kids take.
Yes, absolutely.
You can't just assume that because most kids like soccer, all kids like soccer. So if you want to get the best out of this kid, you have to look at, like, you want your kid to do sport. I think that's really important. My kid's not that sporty of a kid. He would be happy if he didn't do sports. But we said to him, we need you to do a sport. But it doesn't matter what sport. It can be golf. It can be, it can be bowling. It can be anything. We don't care what he does. Just something, just an activity. But understanding what he is, his particular personality is comfortable with.
And it's so important because when they love what they do, then they excel at it. When you ask them to do something that they don't like to do, they're not going to excel at it just like anybody else, even an adult. If you put them in that situation, they may be okay at it. They may excel at it so that, they don't look bad in front of other people, but they're not passionate about it. So they're not going to excel at it at the level that they would if they were passionate about it. So it's the same thing, and it's more important as a child than it is as an adult to make sure that they're engaged in something that they're passionate about, that they care about, and that they love doing. And then earlier you mentioned that Daniel doesn't like loud sounds, and he doesn't like too many people. And in a sport where there are so many players and it does get loud, not just with the ball and the referee and the cheerleaders or the crowd, that's a lot of stimulation thrown at him. As we wrap up today's episode, I want to remind you that you have the power to create a bright and successful future for your highly sensitive child. Embrace their uniqueness, nurture their strengths, and provide them with the love and support they need. Together, we can pave a path to success that aligns with their sensitivity. Thank you for joining us today, and remember, you're not alone on this journey. We'll be here with more insights and inspiration in our next episode. Until then, keep believing in your child's potential because they truly are extraordinary. Stay tuned, stay inspired, and stay committed to setting your child up for success in life. To book a private coaching session with me, please visit my website at parentinghsc.com.